Hi, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a bait pump. I'm going to be making a 22mm bait pump out of copper piping. I've been bait pumping, or pumping for worms this year, and I've been using a 28mm pump that I purchased, pre-made one, and I'd like to now just get a little bit more sharper with getting these worms. I can get them with a 28mm, but it takes up quite a lot of sand with it, and from people that pump quite a lot, they've told me that 22mm is a better diameter. So I'm going to build one now, and I'm going to show you how I build it. So here are the components I'm going to use to build my bait pump. So the first things you'll see, I've got 4 different lengths of copper piping. This is 22mm copper piping. Now you can get this from most builders merchants, Plumb Centre. I don't know if B&Q do 22mm, but they tend to be sold in 3 metre lengths. So if you know a plumber, or you could probably hang around in front of a builder's merchant and chat up a plumber, I'm sure he will sell you the lengths that you need just to build a bait pump. So this one here, I'm just going to offer this large piece up just to show you, and let me show you the length I've got here. So I've got one piece that is about 84 centimetres, between 83 and 84. So we'll roll that out of the way. That is your main body of your bait pump. I've then got the top handle that I've drilled a 7mm hole in. That is, that's 17, 16 and a half, 17, there are 17 centimetres. I've then got the side handle for the main pump body. Again, that's 14. So there we go, a little bit smaller. And then I've got a small section there. I'll show you what that does in a minute. And that's about 5 centimetres. I've then got 22mm T-piece connector there. I've then got a blank end cap, and again I've drilled a 7mm hole in that, just with a metal drill bit there. I've got, well, let me show you this first. I've got a bar, steel bar that I bought from B&Q off the shelf, but any builders merchants will do that, and that is there, 99 centimetres long. And what I've done with this, I've had a thread put in on both ends, and to do that I went down to my local garage. I have a garage just down the road, and asked them if they could put a thread on. Most garages will have a thread cutting die, and they'd be able to put a thread onto any piece of bar like this for you. Always give them a little drink for it, and the garage supplied me with 8 nuts that I need. I've then got this, it's a spring off of a flex hose. I'm going to use that as a stopper, which I will show you when I build it. I've got some black tape that's going to go use as a stopper on the inside. These are optional extras. These are cap ends for a handlebar of a bike, which I have. These are some tape that I'm going to use for grip. And then the tools required, a large wrench and some mole grips. Then last but definitely not least, this is the most important part, is the bung for inside. Now I'm not going to show you how I made this, because I made this using a tutorial video from Wirral, Anglesey, North Wales sea fishing videos, which I've put a link to the video up there. He shows you how he builds his. They seem to be very good, so I built this one the same way as that link. So have a look at his page, and that'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to show you how I put it together. So first things first, I'm going to thread 2 nuts onto this end of the threaded bar. The second nut is to lock the first nut into place. So let's do that now. So as you can see, I've threaded 2 nuts down on the bar, but I've left a gap between them so that I can still do them up by hand until I'm ready to tighten them. I'm then going to put a bit of copper that I've drilled a 7mm hole. I'm going to thread that on down there. I'm making sure I've got enough threaded bar on the other side to get another 2 nuts on. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. 2 nuts on there. So now I have 2 nuts on there. I have just gone and got a smaller adjustable. I'm just going to tighten these top 2 first. I'm going to tighten the outer one down onto the second one. And then I'm going to start doing these up on the underside. I've made sure there's no thread poking out at the end from that second nut, and what I'm going to do is put a dab of glue in there afterwards just to lock that in place. So I'm going to move this second one down out of the way a bit. I'm going to tighten this top one up to the other 2. I'm going to do it just so it starts to put a bit of pressure on that. There. And that should be tight enough. Then going to do this bottom one up onto the second. And just tighten that like so. So there you have it. Handle in place. It's tight, there's no movement on that. Lovely. So once you've got the handle in place there, the next thing I'm going to do is just push together the sections of the pump body, so I then can see where this bar is when it's all together. So that's the T-piece put on. I've then used that short section of copper in there so that I can then put the cap on. I'm then going to thread the pump bar through. Now what I'm going to do is at this end, it is just sticking out. You should be able to see it there. I don't want that. I want that to be pushed up a little bit, maybe, I don't know, ½ inch. So I've done that. I'm trying to keep this. So what I can see here, that is my spacing that I have between there. So I need something to stop that bar going further down that body. So you can just electrical tape that and tape that up and use the tape as a buffer. But I've got this bit of spring, which is just the right size. So I'm going to take this apart again. I'm going to thread this spring down over there, and it does just clip over there, and I know that's good enough as a buffer. Right, now that's on, I'm going to slide the blank end on. I'm going to slide the small bit of copper pipe, and I can now tighten that onto the small bit of copper pipe. So I'm going to grip the cap end with the mole grips. I'm going to use the large wrench. I'm making sure that's right in. I'm going to use this large wrench to tighten this up. That's tightened up. The olives pinched that bit of copper piping. That's good, that's all in place. I'm now going to then put this onto that small piece and tighten that as well. That's on there. I can probably hold the body by hand. There we are. That's now in place. I can then put the handle on, the side handle. That can go in there. Like so. And again, tighten that onto the handle. Done. Now, we're nearly there, not far off. Next thing's quite important. Before we put that down onto the body, we need to get the bung in place. So on this end, threaded end, I'm going to thread 2 nuts again. Now I've got 2 nuts on there. They're still loose. Just going to make sure the bung itself has got enough spacing, which it has for the 2 nuts at the front. I'm then going to thread that on. There we go. Bung's in place. You can see when I put pressure on it, it spreads wide and it will clamp inside of there and give you the suction needed. So last thing, I'm using a tap washer on there. That'll drill out the hole a little bit bigger. And then the 2 bolts. I'm using 2 bolts so they can lock off against each other. But I can still, they want to be in reaching distance from the end of the bait pump with a little socket. So you can take a socket with you and you can tighten these every now and again. There we go. So, just going to move that up a little bit. Just so it's not under pressure. So there you have it. There you have your bung in place there at that end. We've got the bar, the handle. The last thing before I put this main body on is to put a stopper behind this bung to stop you pulling it back further than this T-piece section. You could do damage to this bung. So you want the bung to be stopping just short, sort of there. So I'm just going to score a line there with a pair of scissors I've got, just so it's visible. And then I'll push that through. See that mark, which is there. I'm going to use black electrical tape and build that up. So it's maybe, I don't know, just a little bit thicker than this hole in this end to stop it pulling back through. So I'm going to start that now. So there we go, I've got the little stopper there taped on well, and that doesn't go past that point there. So last thing to do is to get your main body, thread the bung down like so, thread the pipe all the way through, get this clipped in place like so, and then we tighten that. Right, so now the bait pump is all put together. All I've done is I've lubricated the inside. I've used a bit of washing up liquid, which is good enough lubrication. I put a tiny bit on this end, and I've then squirted some down that hole there. That's now, I've then tightened this through the end onto that. That's not fully down, so push that down. There we go. That allows you to tighten it there. Done. And I've got just enough friction there. When I pull the handle, there we are. Enough suction there to pump worms. Now all I'm going to do is tart this up a little bit with the bits that I've got up there. Right, so there we have it. Bit of tarting up with a handlebar stop end and some grip tape on there, and some handlebar stop ends. You can use tape for this section if you want to as a buffer, but I had this spring. And there we have your finished bait pump.